Welcome to Meet the Makers, our series where you get to meet the makers. In this series, we will go behind the screen of the kNOwBOX Dance Film Festival official selection. There is so much hard work and time that goes into creating each and every single film, and we want to keep these conversations going before and after the festival.
How do you think your film relates to the NBFF 2022 theme, Dancing Around the World?
This one is really interesting because I never thought I'd be able to produce a film while I was studying in New York. And so to be able to have my friends and my best friend also just choreograph it with me was just such a huge undertaking, such a huge dream of mine to be able to do that. And also I guess this could relate to another question about the theme of the film being really universally applicable, since it is about wealth and disparity.
I would love to kind of hear more about why wealth inequality. Was that something that you went into creating this film wanting to address, or what led you to that theme?
I'll be honest, definitely not at first. The film was inspired by its location. So I was location scouting, or I was actually filming a small little dance video for someone else out far in Far Rockaway, and we just walked back past this field, and I was like, it'll be so quirky if there's just a dinner table in the middle of that. How funny would that be? And then my friend was like, you should do it. And then I was like, I should. And then I started thinking about what that could mean, and I started reflecting what could a film be about. I just had the idea to have that be a representation of some world that feels really isolated from everything else around them. And then I guess something that came to me as something really applicable would be wealth inequality.
Or what was your creative process like?
Because it's just sort of a huge, it's a bigger scale film than I'd ever done before. So I started by getting all my collaborators together. I got a composer to do music for it. I got my best friend to help me choreograph it, produce it with me. And then I got all my dancers together and really just started brainstorming possibilities, what can I get all the way, getting all the logistical elements first, and then later on figuring out the choreography and then actually putting it into action.
I have to say my favorite scene in your film is when it's that zooming in on the plate, and then all of a sudden we're in a completely different space, and it's this white, almost there's no ground, anti-gravity space. So I'm curious, what's your favorite scene from your film?
I was actually looking at the questions before this, and I was going to say that was a pivotal scene, because that then starts to change what your perspective of what the film is actually about, because then it's about him. It's about this one person in the middle of nothingness. But honestly, I maybe just because of all the work I put in, I just generally love just the entire first part of the film where everyone's at a dinner table, and it's that visual of this world that is so randomly in the middle of a grass field. So.
And the movement too in that scene really sticks out. Remember the one they're at the table and with the gestures.
They're all just robots, but familiar with this system. And then it all goes crazy at some point. So
there's so much unpredictability within the work that creates excitement because you don't know what's going to happen next. But we cannot end our interview with you without asking you, how do you say no to the box?
That is a tricky question, because as artists, we are always trying to break boundaries. And so I guess in a one-word and in a one-line answer, I would say just ignore the box and pretend it doesn't exist. But I could go into a big spiel about figuring out what speaks to you and not use the box as reference to how you're going to break it, but then following through with something that moves you, and then let that naturally find its way to break the box.